Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media will not touch. You can join us for the radio show every Sunday from our Wham Talk 1600 Freedom Bunker. We air the show from every Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. You can stream the show live anywhere in the country and anywhere in the world. Just go to davejanda.com, go to the upper right-hand corner, hit the live button, and tune in. Great guests, great analysis. Again, information the lamestream media will never touch. We're also available here, obviously, on our YouTube channel 24/7 and on our website, davejanda.com. We have the free, the public side. We also have the subscription side. Subscription side, $9 a month. I believe one of the biggest bangs for the buck in all internet. You get all the archives for every one of our radio shows from today, this next Sunday, to all the way back to October of 2010 from the inception of the show. We have our WTF show we put up every week, a video format show, geopolitical analysis show. Our Insider Insight show, an interview show video that we bring someone forward from behind the curtain to speak about issues that the fake media will not touch. We also have our healthcare series. We also have our Department of Advanced Research show. All available on our subscription platform. Hopefully become a part of our Freedom family. Today's topic are the 3 Stooges of the deep state. That would be Mueller, Christopher Steele, and Hillary. Let's just throw her in as well. The Mueller report and the Steele report, or the Steele dossier, all was about the removal of a duly elected president of the United States and his administration, Donald Trump. The name Mueller attached to the report and Steele attached to the dossier should set off warning bells that the reports, and in Steele's case, the dossier, were all based on a deep state agenda, all about a coup. Both were deep state operations, and they were intended to, one, as I mentioned, remove a duly elected president of the United States. 2, to cover up the illegal surveillance that had been perpetrated by deep state puppets for years. Now, in particular, we know from whistleblowers Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, who are regular guests on my radio show and on this platform. And if you, on the very top of the homepage of this YouTube channel, is an interview I did with Bill and Kirk. They have been whistleblowers since 2001. They took on the deep state in 2001 when they stepped away from their very high-level positions with the NSA and said, look, the NSA is involved in activities that they have no business involved in, such as monitoring emails, phone calls, internet activities, financial transactions of American citizens illegally, violating the Fourth Amendment rights of millions of Americans. Now, they got in a lot of trouble when they did that. And when they did that, the then director of the FBI, deep state puppet Robert Mueller, one of, let's call him Stooge number 1, he ended up sending people, agents, into Bill and Kirk's house. In fact, Bill ended up having a gun put to his head by an FBI agent. Why? Because they had the audacity to tell the truth to the American public. And that's the last thing the deep state and their little puppets, such as Mueller, such as Steele, such as Hillary Clinton, just to name a couple three, and they put their little puppets in positions so they can suppress whistleblowers and patriots trying to bring the truth forward. Now, in addition to the NSA abuse, and it's been documented, and yeah, there is abuse of the NSA system on multiple fronts. And if we just look at the Obama administration with the NSA abuse, we know there was illegal activity going on. And we also know there was abuse of the 702s. But that was not just it. It was the tip of the iceberg. There was abuse by other puppets, other stooges, such as Brennan and Clapper, Comey, the then director of the FBI at the tail end of the Obama administration. And they were not only involved in looking at the NSA abuse, but there was abuse on parallel platforms, on surveillance platforms that were created to be, if you will, separate and distinct from the NSA system. You see, in the NSA system, there was an internal log system. So if you tried to subvert that 702 reporting system, there was still a backup system in place with the log system. But for the stooges that wanted to get information illegally on other government officials, on American citizens, on judges, they went to the parallel platforms, one of which was called the Hammer. And we've discussed that at length. But you see, in these parallel platforms, there was no internal reporting system. So these stooges could traipse around in there and get information that could then be used for blackmail purposes and leverage purposes to further the agenda of the deep state. You see, the Mueller investigation with the resultant report, the Steele dossier, the elevation of Hillary, the coronation of Hillary as president, was all about covering their tracks for their illegal activities that they had been involved with for years. So that Mueller report, Steele dossier, the goal was to remove a duly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his administration. It was also to cover up the illegal surveillance that was occurring on these parallel platforms and the 702 abuse with the Obama administration. The Mueller report and the Steele dossier was ultimately used as cover for the humiliating defeat of the aforementioned coronation of Hillary Clinton as president. The Mueller report and the Steele dossier were essentially a protection policy for the deep state's past criminal activity, such as what? Well, we could name a million things, but one of which that comes to light is Uranium One. Uranium One. Mueller was the FBI director when Uranium One went down. He was also a mule. By that I mean this narrative that, he took a private plane to Russia and he brought some contraband material that was obtained in a sting operation that happened to be nuclear to bring it to Russia to see if it corresponded to what was stolen from them, that's theater. What he did is he brought samples to Russia for them to look at in the Uranium One deal to see if the purity was okay for them to accept the deal, so Hillary and Bill could get Bill could get his $500,000 check for giving one speech in Russia, and Hillary and Bill could get $125 million deposited in the Clinton Foundation bank account, if that's what you want to call it. How about money laundering operation? They had to get rid of Trump. And they tried to use the Mueller report and the Steele dossier to accomplish that goal. because they didn't want anybody else looking at their illegal activity, let alone their illegal surveillance, what they were involved with the Uranium One, for example. But it was also, the Mueller report and the Steele dossier was a diversion from Clinton's illegal server, which put you and me and every American in harm's way. And because of that illegal server, which was, as we now know, the information directly as it came into that server was going right to China. And 18 of our operatives on the ground in China were summarily assassinated because they were outed through that server. The three Stooges, Mueller, Steele, and Hillary. And we know Stooge Hillary, along with the DNC, helped fund that Steele dossier that was used to launch the FISA investigation, the FISA abuse, the warrants. So the surveillance warrants could be issued on Carter Page. Steele dossier, bought and paid for by the DNC and the stooge Hillary Clinton. Nunes, just this week, came out, quote, the bank records produced by Fusion GPS, remember Fusion GPS, right? That's supposedly created, that was funded to create the Steele dossier through Christopher Steele. Remember, that'd be the same Fusion GPS when Stooge Mueller, during that goat rodeo of a hearing in front of Congress, which, as I've outlined in previous videos, look at my Mueller video, was nothing more than a whopping case of the Sicilian flu for Mueller. Remember when he was asked about Fusion? Who? Who are they? What? Yeah, right. Nice, Bob. Really cute. Theater. This week, Devin Nunes, quote, the bank records produced by Fusion GPS revealed that the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and Perkins Coie, the law firm for Hillary, and the DNC and the Clinton campaign, for Fusion GPS's anti-Trump research, quote, according to Devin Nunes. You know, I want to take you back, actually, to last December. Christopher Steele was in a London courtroom. Yeah, I know. CNN and even Fox, and none of them covered this. Christopher Steele admits he was hired to help Hillary Clinton challenge a 2016 election. Yeah, one stooge helping another. You know, Mo, Larry, and Curly. There they go. Former UK spy Christopher Steele admitted in a London court that he was hired to help Hillary Clinton contest the results of the 2016 election in case Trump won. The Washington Times actually spoke about that. They're not part of the deep state. Steele assembled an anti-Trump dossier of opposition research, as we know, for investigative firm Fusion GPS, who Stooge Mueller, Yeah, right. Which in turn hired by DNC law firm Perkins Coie. The document used a senior Russian foreign ministry figure and a former top-level intelligence officer still active in the Kremlin. In other words, Hillary Clinton, through Steele and other intermediaries, was working with Russians against Donald Trump. And then we, of course, had Stooge Mueller in his report actually admitting, well, you know, that CrowdStrike report about the Russians hacking the DNC, well, we never saw the servers and we never saw the computers. And, well, actually, we never really saw a report. It was just a draft. Yeah. Bottom line, Stooge Mueller, Stooge Steele, and Stooge Hillary were all involved in sedition, the removal of a duly elected president of the United States. Fact. This week is a tough anniversary for our country. 9/11, 2001, for what occurred and went down in New York and Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. And also the anniversary, September 11th and September 12th of 2012. the Benghazi event. In both instances, our government was negligent, and I believe even more than negligent. There has been some movement on both fronts of both of those events this past year. If you look at what we've done on this platform on Benghazi, we have brought Charles Woods forward, the father of Ty Woods, one of the 4 Americans murdered in Benghazi. And we've brought 2 incredibly courageous whistleblowers, Nick Noe and Josh Salmon, forward, who were in the fields of operation that night. It's clear. The Obama administration, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Leon Panetta, and let's put his entire administration on notice, was involved in a weapons running operation which was illegal. The front man was Ambassador Chris Stevens. He essentially became the first ambassador to Al-Qaeda on behalf of the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. He was running weapons to Al-Qaeda to kill Gaddafi. Gaddafi is a bad guy and not trying to defend him. But Gaddafi had flipped. He was turning over terrorists. But he made the mistake of taking on the deep state by saying, we're going to get away from the reserve currency of the world, the US dollar, for oil shipments and payments, and we're going to get away from the euro, and you know what? We're going to go with a gold-backed dinar. That really upset the deep state, and they had to get rid of him. They implemented their stooges, Hillary, Obama, Panetta, to shut it down. And the shutdown was a weapons running operation that brought weapons into Libya, into the hands of Al-Qaeda to kill Gaddafi. And then Stevens was tasked by the Stooges, Obama and Hillary Clinton, to redirect those weapons, to funnel them through Turkey into Syria to a benevolent, another deep state operation, ISIS, to cause further chaos, destruction, and death, which is what the deep state's all about. Because of people like Charles Woods, people like Mike Igmeyer, the uncle of Sean Smith, one of the others slain in Benghazi, who've come on my show multiple times, because of Nick Noe and Josh Salmon, we now have a handle, along with the Citizens Commission on Benghazi, that included General Paul Vallely, General Tom McInerney, and Admiral Ace Lyons, who passed away this past December. They've all outlined it was a weapons running operation run by the deep state, and in particular the puppets, Obama and Clinton, Hillary. And when the call came for support when the attack occurred, and it was an attack that, according to our whistleblowers, was known in advance that was going to occur. When the call came for help, a stand-down order was issued. Why? Because they had to tie up loose ends. Ambassador Stevens had gotten cold feet, had been talking outside of the Obama orbit about what was really going on, and it had to be shut down. We've had significant progress on what really happened in Benghazi. And we've also had some significant developments on 9/11/2001. Several fire departments in the New York City region have stepped up and pushed for further investigations. The architects and engineers have done the same. And there has been a reopening of an investigation on 9/11. There was recently a report issued in the past couple days, through a university actually, that looked at the third building that fell down in New York that day, Building 7. Wasn't struck by a plane. Reportedly, a fire brought it down. I mentioned this before. My dad was a civil engineer. He built large structures, not in New York, but in Chicago. On the day that event occurred, we had a number of conversations. From the very first impact that occurred on the World Trade Center to later that evening, the takedown of Building 7, he kept saying, and he communicated with his friends, architects and civil engineers around the country that day, that none of it made any sense from a civil engineering standpoint, from a building materials standpoint. After Building 7 failed and essentially imploded upon itself, he called me and he said, "Dave, they're saying that this building fell because of fire." He goes, "In the history of modern construction and in steel structures, no steel structure has fallen because of fire." He goes, "Dave, that building was taken down." That was September 11th, 2001. He died January 28th, 2003. I did notice a change in my dad after September 11th, 2001, until the day he died. He was always a staunch supporter of the United States, served in the military during World War II. But after he and his friends spoke on that day and many days to follow and weeks to follow, and a year and a couple months to follow until he died, he never looked at our government and anyone in politics. He always had a question about our government, if you will, and the people in it. He had a lot of confrontations with them. He's a really honest man. They weren't. But when it all came down to it, when he saw what happened with those planes hitting the centers, towers, and what happened to those buildings, and then what happened with Building 7, he knew we weren't being told the truth. And he kept saying that. Well, a university study this past week looked at Building 7 and said that that building couldn't have fallen from a fire. That the only way that structure could have been brought down was simultaneous destruction of its steel structure, of its support columns. Something that my dad said the night of September 11th, 2001, 18 years before. The key, I believe, to getting to the truth of what happened on that day, Benghazi, and ultimately the attempted coup of Donald Trump, comes down to whistleblowers. Whistleblowers. Just like Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe did back in 2001 as it relates to the NSA. Just as Nick Noe and Josh Salmon and Charles Woods have done, Mike Igmeyer has done, the Citizens Commission from Benghazi have done, as it relates to what happened on September 11th and 12th of 2012 in Benghazi. And the same is true of September 11th, 2001. Some things are starting to come out again, and I believe more will, as these investigations gain steam. Just this week, from Zero Hedge, Mueller helped Saudis cover up involvement in 9/11 attack. Stooge Mueller again. Robert Mueller, pitched as an incorruptible beacon of justice when he was tasked with unsuccessfully hunting down ties between Donald Trump and Russia, was nothing more than a hatchet man for the deep state, who participated in a cover-up of Saudi Arabia's role in 9/11, according to a new report by the New York Post's Paul Sperry, who's a great journalist. This cited former FBI investigators, whistleblowers, and a new lawsuit by 9/11 victims. Quote, "He was the master when it came to covering up the kingdom's role in 9/11, end quote, said Sharon Permoli, a September 11th survivor who was pulled out of the rubble of the World Trade Center and is now suing Saudi Arabia as a plaintiff in a new lawsuit. Quote, "In October of 2001, Stooge Mueller, shut down the government's investigation after only 3 weeks, and then took part in the Bush administration's campaign to block, obfuscate, and generally stop anything about Saudi Arabia from being released," end quote. That's from, again, Sharon Permoli. Speaking with multiple FBI case agents, Sperry lists a series of incidents describing Mueller throwing up roadblocks in front of his own investigators, quote, "making it easier for Saudi suspects to escape questioning," end quote. And according to the lawsuit, Mueller, quote, "deep-sixed what evidence his agents did manage to uncover." Quote, "He's a villain and an arrogant one to boot," end quote, said former FBI agent Mark Walk, who called Mueller a, quote, "servant of the deep state," end quote. I would call him a stooge of the deep state, as is Steele, as is Hillary. But things are very different than 2001. This time, I truly believe, it's not the towers that are falling. It's not a diplomatic outpost in Benghazi that's falling as it did in 2012. What is falling is the deep state. And every single one of their stooges, I believe, will be held accountable. The future of our country is on the line. And I believe that the only way it's going to get done is by whistleblowers, along with the support of President Trump. Until next time, this is Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.